Then we have values. If you see me come into a meeting and say, Mike, we don't have a speaker on the agenda. Would you speak to us? Chances are you're going to get a speech on values. Values make excellent speeches because these are the speeches that you can write and deliver in 15 minutes. Why? Because the values are at the very core of who and what we are. They are what we are most passionate about. And so when we talk about our values, not only do we keep everybody interested in our passion, but the whole message just flows very, very freely. One of the things that I value the very most is persistence. I had a boss by the name of Harry who was the most persistent guy I have ever met. If he wanted something done, he would call you 5, 10 times a day until it was done. He about drove me crazy. Anybody have a boss like that? Okay, at least one brave, intrepid soul had a boss like that. And they survived. And Harry, one day, was in a meeting. And he said to a contractor who's trying to tell him that they couldn't deliver, "Don't think you can blow me off. I'm persistent. I run marathons." I'd like to run, but it never occurred to me to run a marathon. But Harry's persistence in everything that he did with our team caused us, 4 of us, with no funding except for some travel money, to outperform teams of 40 people with full funding. We ran circles around them, and we grew proud of our team. We grew confidence and abilities that we didn't even know we had. And when I saw the impact that Harry's persistence had on our lives, I knew I wanted that in my character more than anything. So I started long distance running. So far, I've run 4 marathons, 19 half marathons, and 4 or 5 9-milers. That persistence that Harry instilled in me also gave me the persistence and the willingness to pursue my wife. Thank you, Harry.
Yes, indeed.
And so when you're looking at values, you just got to ask yourself what's important, why is it important, who taught you, and how were you taught. If your story has all 4 of those elements, you have got a great speech for your club. Then there's errors. Yes, most people don't like to talk about their screw-ups, but I tell you, if you have as many screw-ups as I do, it's a gold mine. And one of my favorite screw-ups of all times was when I was 10 years old. Dad took us down to Cancun for Christmas. It was 20 degrees below in Chicago when we left. But when we got down there, the music was playing and the palm trees were swaying. It was phenomenally beautiful. Light blue skies, crystal turquoise ocean. It was an amazing place. But it was also the time before cell phones. And whenever you went somewhere with your parents or your kids, didn't you make an arrangement that you would meet at a certain time and place if you should happen to get separated? For whatever reason, my parents didn't do it that day. And so we go to this downtown mall in Cancun, and we're just looking at stuff, and I see something that catches my eye. I go to look, and I turn back, and I can't find my parents anywhere. As a 10-year-old, I'm just completely scared. I'm running around this mall trying to find them. But then I get frustrated and tired and hot. And I sit down on a park bench to reason out as only a way a 10-year-old could. The very best thing I could do was go back to the villa, because at least it would be more comfortable. Right. This gets better. Never mind that my parents just lost me in a foreign country where they don't speak the language and they definitely don't know where to get help. I'm sitting in that villa and I'm looking out the window and I'm like, man, it is an incredibly nice day outside. And I don't get very many nice days. So I left them a note and went to the beach. Yeah. After 3 or 4 hours of body surfing and sunbathing, it looked like that Yucatan man. I come back and all is right with the world until I opened the door to that villa. Mom started screaming before that door even closed. Mike, how dare you go to the beach? You should have waited at the mall. You're grounded for New Year's Eve, and I hope you have children just like you. Probably why I don't have kids today. That speech, I've used it in talking about patience. I've used it in talking about a parent's love. I've used it as a target speech for a contest. I've used it in seminars. Our screw-ups are a gold mine, and if we develop the kind of confidence on stage to tell everybody else about our screw-ups, it'll open up a connection between us and our audiences in a way that some other ways never could. And then, tried and successful. I had started telling you about my first experience with that motivation day at the Nutter Center. I was up in the nosebleed section and I was excited as I could be, drinking in all those stories of the great speakers. I came back to the motivation day 3.5 years later, after I'd had some Toastmasters. Wow, was I disappointed. Why? Because those professional speakers, one after the other, all told the same stories. Even Robert Schuller, verbatim, gave the exact same speech. Now, why do they do that? They do that because they know that audiences are willing to pay for those speeches. Now, you take professional speakers like Darren LaCroix, like Craig Valentine, they have keynotes, usually about 3 or 4 keynotes, as well as formulas for different keynotes, that they can go ahead and put together to fit the needs of most and the audience. We can do the same with our stories. Now, if we've got a great story, we can polish that story in front of many different audiences until it can fit into a keynote, a seminar, anything else we need to fit it into. Okay, so here's how you do that. Number 1 is don't give the same story in front of the same club. I've learned this the hard way. What will happen is the first time the club hears it, they're all excited. And then the second and the third time, well, by the 4th time, their eyes are just rolling in the back of their heads. And the 5th time, they ask you, don't come back. But in reality, what happens is you get feedback from that first club. And a lot of times it'll be the evaluation, but also did you get a chuckle or a laugh in the right place. Now what you want to do is capture that feedback. You can capture it with a little camera like this. It was actually Billy Thomas who showed me that. And a little tripod like this. You set it on the table and film yourself. Now most people don't like watching themselves on video. Gosh, I know I don't like watching it. I have about 400 gigabytes of me on video, and I've only watched 300 gigabytes of it.